Okay, people. So today I'm joined by Carlo Mendez, who is, the star of Demise, right? We covered Demise last year, and it's got its release over this side of the pond. So yeah, we get to speak to Carlo. Man, thank you for your time, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here and talk about the movie. Let's do it.
Hey, no worries, man. Like this was ah like when I got sent this last year, man, I didn't, I had no clue what to expect, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's it's a crazy kind of film, but I think it's very tempered. Like it's not too over the top. It's not too crazy, but it's just fun, right? So, what did you think when this script first came your way?
Well, when it first came my way, I read it and I was instantly hooked. I love the twists and turns, and I won't spoil, give any spoilers because
Mm,
there's some people haven't watched it, but I love the twists and turns, and there is some some unexpected stuff. When we watch movies, for the most part, like 90% of the time, we already know what's gonna happen. You know,
yes.
watching movies for so many years, so it's nice to actually like watch a movie that you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh, wait a second, I didn't see that coming, and it's kind of fun, and that's what movies are. Movies are there
Mm,
to entertain you, to engage you, and to give you a break from reality. And this one is kind of scary in the sense, like, if this something like this can happen in real life, it's kind of scary for a man to go through, or even a woman to go through with it as well. But I like the twists and the turns, and when I read the script, it just came to life. I have such a vivid imagination that I was like, "Oh yes, I can picture me doing this and doing that. Oh, and this is the way I want to do it, and this is the way I think I'm gonna try to deliver it." So it really just came up to to real life for me, and on the page, and I was just so excited once I had it.
Because yeah, it's a kind of a crazy storyline, but it's not because these things happen all the time.
Exactly.
So yeah, yeah.
You know
Now,
what? Even worse. Like, if now with news and social media, there's a lot more coverage on crazy things that happen in the world, and this is actually kind of not as crazy as some of the things I've read or seen on the news in the past few years. It's
mm,
insane. It really, really is. People really go crazy.
I know. I think that's the thing with the internet, right? Because before you were just getting kind of the news in your area, right, or your country,
Yeah.
and so you weren't, exposed to all of this craziness, and then you would hear things, and you just think that's like out of a soap opera. That's crazy. That's not true. And like the more we've been exposed to things, you're just like people are doing some bonkers stuff around.
Look, real quick. I just read a story about a guy and his girlfriend who were being intimate. She called him a different name of her ex-husband, and he killed her. He didn't just kill her; he dismembered her body and did other atrocious things that I'm not going to mention here. But it's insane. So yeah, and this happened not even here in the States. This happened in another country or something like that. But it's crazy. Yeah, now you hear all the craziness that happens in the world, and it's quite scary.
Yup. Yup. So yeah, what Caleb gets up to isn't as crazy, right?
No, yeah, like, this is not as crazy. Celine goes a little crazy, but I don't blame her.
Yes.
Caleb, the character, he drove the characters to go crazy.
Mm,
His wife. He, I I don't like judging the characters, but at some point you can still like talk about them and see what they did wrong. And my
yeah.
character, definitely, he was in the wrong of what he did, having an affair, which is known. And he drove the Celine character to do what she did. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but he
Mm,
drove her to that point. and which you kind of like, you're like, okay, you know, I can see why she did what she did because he drove it to that point, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's the crazy thing about this film, right? Because you're watching it and you're going like, Caleb's the bad guy, right?
Mhm.
And then, you know what I mean? Celine's like, but you can also, as you say, you can see how she gets to that point. Right now, obviously, right? There's, there's boundaries, there's limits. You need to be like, okay, calm head, right? But you can understand what has led someone to, go too far to get to a point.
Exactly, you know, and you know, one thing I wanted to do about my character is even though he did wrong, I wanted to still make him relatable and likable. I didn't want
Mm,
him to be just that douchebag goes around like cheating and doing all these terrible things. He just got caught and let the best of his emotions get the best of him, and he did a terrible thing that can happen to anybody. And then Celine, overdoes it in reacting into what happened. And you know, it's not so far fetched. It's not so far fetched.
mm,
You know, we spoke earlier, you know, the craziness, but she does go overboard, and then once she goes overboard, there's no coming back from
yeah,
what she did.
yeah. But man, what Yara did with this script was phenomenal because, as
Yeah.
you say, there's so many times you'll go to the cinema, you'll turn the TV on, you'll start playing with something, and straight away you're like, okay, so obviously this is going to happen, and then this is the plot twist, and blah blah blah. You just see everything,
Yeah.
all the beats. So when you get a film that, you know what I mean, halfway through, then we get this twist, and then we get something, and then so, and you're just like, what? Like, you just
Mhm.
do not see
Yeah.
these things. So it's phenomenal. And first time director,
First
first
time.
time feature director, and
Let me
she
tell
knocks it out the park.
Yeah, let me tell you, I loved working with Yara, and I'll work with her 1,000 more times. You know, for being a first time director, she might have been a first time director, but she did not direct like she was a first timer. I'll tell you.
Mm,
You know, I've been at it working for 16, 17 years, and the way she controlled the set, the way she helped me get to where I needed to go, and all the other actors, it was definitely not that of a first time director. It was a first time director on credits, but not in the way
yeah.
she controlled the set, not the way she directed us and stuff like that. I loved it. I would work with her 1,000 times. She is so amazing. Yara is going to blow up in the directing writing world. Trust me what I'm saying. Give it a little bit more time. But she's an amazing director, amazing writer, and she knows what she's doing and she knows what she wants, and she's going to be a force to reckon with in Hollywood.
Oh, no, and I think, from talking with you, like, what was clear was she understood the things she knew and the things she didn't know, right? So she put together a great team, like, and she has a vision. Because I think a problem is, a lot of the time you're told this is the structure of something,
Mhm.
right? This is the way a story should be. And so that can put like blinkers on your ability to be creative. And she didn't let that hinder her, right? She had this vision and she creates a story that is fantastic and flows. And, you know what I mean? She puts the right team around her and she lets herself tell it without being confined. And I think there's something to understanding all of that first time out. You know what I mean? Doing that work to set your foundation, and yeah, proof is in the pudding when you get a finished, article like Demise.
Yeah, I'm telling you, she had a clear vision of what she wanted. And, you know, her being the writer, the director, she knew exactly what she wanted. She had a clear vision, and just, it was just so, she's probably one of my favorite directors I've ever worked with. She's just was just so good, so concise, and so zoned in on what she wanted. And that was just beautiful. You know, any questions I had, and sometimes even before I asked her some questions, she already answered my questions without me even asking, you know, of like, huh, what about this, what, type of stuff, you know, and I imagine also being the writer director helps when
Yeah.
you've written the story yourself and you clearly know what you want in your head. And I think that's so important. But she was just so on point, so amazing, and it was so great to work with her. And like I said, it didn't seem like a first time director.
I mean, that is high praise because you've worked. You know what I mean? You've done TV, you've done film, you've done everything, basically. You know what I mean? You've worked on some big franchises. Like, what kind of got you into all of this in the first place?
Into acting?
Yeah, and you're telling stories, man. Like,
You know,
what was that?
Good question. I've always had a vivid imagination, and I just one of the things I love about acting, it's good for your soul and it's artistic and this and that and all that feeds it. But also one of the things that I love about it, it's that it's fun.
Mm,
It's very fun. It's challenging and it's never boring. It's never the same thing. And I grew up watching movies. I remember watching movies, Indiana Jones movies with Harrison Ford, one of my favorite actors. And just watching that, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be up there doing that. And I was on the wrong side, living in Miami and stuff like that. Long story short, I moved out here, started doing it. And I just remember the first time being on set, I was like, I felt and truly fell in love. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it's just so much fun. It's freeing. I get to express myself, which is a big one. I think a lot of, actors love doing, expressing themselves, but it's just fun. It's never boring. It's never the same. You might have the same structure. You have to show up on set, you got to, say your lines, hit your mark, but you never ever do the same thing twice. And I love that. I love how challenging and how fun it is and how it's never the same thing and never boring.
yeah, yeah. Now, when you know what I mean, you were like, I want to be an actor. Was there like, what was the archetype for you? You know what I mean? Because there's so many different styles and types. You've got all these incredible lead actors out there, all these different styles, all these different genres. You've got some people that only mess with like horror, some people are just action stars. So as a kid, and you're thinking about this, where you'd like, I really want to be like Harrison Ford. I really want to be like, or was it just kind of like, yo, I just want to do this and see where it takes me?
Well, Harrison Ford, it's one of the first movies I ever saw, and Harrison Ford is one of the greatest living actors of all time. He's done it all. He's done action, comedy, romance, thriller, even a couple of scary movies. He's done it all, and he never, pigeonholed himself to one genre, one thing.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of actor I want to be. I want to be free. I want to be open. I love comedy, but I also love action. And I just did a horror film, and I kind of love that too. That was fun to do. So I want to be open to everything. I want to challenge myself. I want to, really do things that people are like, whoa, I didn't realize that's Carlo Mendez that just did that. Or, I really want to challenge myself. I want to be great. I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I really want to, surprise people and show them and prove to them like that I can do this, that I can be there with the best of the best. And just, and just make the best of it.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely, you know what I mean, gone across the gambit of genres and everything like that. So yeah, you're doing your thing, man. But what was it? Because early on, right, you got 90210, you got
Yeah.
a part in that. So getting on something big like that, but then the next role's not maybe being as big as that. What was that like? You know what I mean? That kind of adjustment, that thought, maybe this is it. This is the jump off. But then it taking a little bit more time to get to maybe where you really wanted to be.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, 90210 was my first theatrical audition. I booked it, but they never aired that episode. I remember being really nervous. I remember like, oh my God, I gotta do this. And I just had a couple lines, a few lines here and there, but it never aired. I don't know. I hope to pray that it wasn't because I was terrible. It was because it just didn't story. Which I've gotten, I believe, at least from then to now, I've gotten a lot better. But this is a very tough industry in the acting world.
Yeah.
You can book something today, something big, and not book anything for 2, 3, 4 years, or you can go a long time without booking. So you have to remain hopeful, positive. You have to keep working on your craft, keep going to acting class, keep trying to create, and keep pushing yourself and keep getting better, because you really don't know when is your next job. Like even after Demise, my first lead in a feature was in my early 40s, mid to early 40s was my first lead. And I don't think I booked anything after that for almost a whole year, you know?
Mm.
And then, after 90210, it was a smaller role, but I didn't book anything for maybe even a couple of years. So you just never know. You just got to keep going and just be hopeful, and not give yourself a time limit. Like, oh, if I don't make it by this time or in a couple more years, you just have to keep going, because you never know. Like they say, what is it? 15, 20 years of success, overnight success takes 15, 20 years to
Yeah.
make it. So you just got to keep going, because tomorrow, the next audition could be the big break that you get to get where you want to go.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, right? You stuck with it, and it shows, right? The performance in Demise is so good,
Thank you.
right? So what is your process? Like, how do you keep growing and evolving, even when you're not booking?
Yeah, I just going to class. I don't have like a method. For every role that I get, I approach it differently. Like, am I gonna, what method am I gonna use this, or what method I'm gonna use that? Usually, I take class with Ivana Chubix, and I use her method. But I switch it up. I can switch it up, but usually that's the method I go with. But every role, every process for me is different. Whether it's a big role or a small role, whatever it is, and I just use a lot of my imagination. I use a lot of substitution, and it all really just depends on the role. But the way I keep myself going is just going to class and just keep submitting myself, have my management submit myself, and just keep going. And honestly, just be very hopeful that, okay, my shot, my big audition is coming, and I'm gonna book that. And just be hopeful, because you have to remain positive in this industry. You have to remain,
Yeah.
because there's so much business behind it, so many politics behind it, that you just never know. And you just got to keep going. And I'm still not where I want to be, but I'm not where I used to be.
Yeah.
So that stays in my mind a lot, because I still have a night job, that I
Mhm.
bartend, and I'm not a working full-time actor yet, but I know it's coming. I know my shot is coming, because I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be prepared, and I just know it, and I feel it.
I mean, that's some great, advice and just words for anyone coming up in the industry. And, not even new, like people that might be, booking roles and been doing it, grinding for a little while, right? Sometimes you need to hear things like that, you know?
Yeah, you just got to keep going no matter what. I mean, like I said, I've been at it for 16, 17 years. And then there's other actors that go and they start acting for 4 or 5 years and blow up. And
Yeah.
then you have other ones that act 15, 20 years and then they get their break. Like I believe George Clooney was 17, 18 years in acting before he got his first big break. Mark Ruffalo says he went on 800 auditions before he got his big first break. So this is a numbers game. You just got to keep going, but you got to be good. You got to put in the work. You got to believe in yourself. You got to have confidence. And the older I get, the more confident I become. Not egotistically, but
Mm.
more confident. Like, I know I can do this. I know I can pull this off. And I think Jane Fonda said it best when she goes, and I love this quote. She goes, "It's okay to be a late bloomer as long as you show up to the flower show."
Mm.
I feel in my life,
Yeah.
I've been a late bloomer for everything in life, everything, whether it's sports, having a girlfriend, everything that's happened to me in life, I've been a late bloomer.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with being a late bloomer as long as I end up at the flower show. And I love that quote, because it pushed me and inspired me. I'm like, I'm on the right track, and I believe in myself, and I believe in what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Samuel Jackson didn't get his first break until he was 40, right? I
Please,
think
yeah.
it was something like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and I think another big thing you said, right? It's like it's rehearsing, it's practicing, it's being prepared.
Yeah.
And I think there's a load of people that want something right? The amount of times I talk to people and they're like, oh, I really want this job. I really want this. I really want that. And you're like, oh man, yeah, that sounds cool. Right. So are you, is your CV done? Right. Have you got your show reel? Have you got this? Have you? And it's like, oh no, I haven't done that yet. And it's kind of like, so what happens if you walked into a room and met a big time director, right? And they're like, but oh man, great. Send me across your show reel, and yeah, we'll set up a meeting, and you have nothing to send them, right?
Exactly.
So it's all about being ready for the opportunity, because if the opportunity comes and you're not ready, you've wasted all of that shit.
You wasted all of it. Yeah, and that's why you got to be ready and you got to be good to go and you got to work hard and study hard and
Mm,
like you're saying and believe in yourself in this industry, And I'll tell you this, I never up until Demise, I never really saw myself as a leading man. I was like, I'll be the co-starring and this and that. But being the leading man in that film really gave me the confidence. I'm like, whoa, okay, and I've gotten good feedback. I'm like, wow, people actually enjoyed watching me, and I can pull it off. And it gave me the confidence to know that, you know what, I can be a lead. I can definitely do it, and I can definitely pull it off. And
mm,
it really gave me the confidence to do that. And it was, specifically how Yara directed it and what she wrote and everything. And it really gave me that confidence of like, man, she believed in me. Others can believe in me too. And and be a lead in a big Hollywood production one day. You never know, in a series.
mm. Now that's interesting to me, Carla, because what was it that what I mean, gave you the thought that a lead might not be your future? What was it, seeing people like yourself in those roles? Like, was it, feedback from class? Was it just the opportunities that were coming? Because I know, right, sometimes when you're told, oh, we see you as more as this, right? We see you more as this. Like you'll go to auditions, right? And you're thinking, I want to read for this role. And they're like, we see you more as the best friend. We see you more as, like, if you're hearing that a lot, then yeah, definitely that could probably make you think, oh, maybe I'm not a lead. But what was it? Was there anything in particular that made you think you're not a lead?
I guess it was confidence. I didn't have the confidence when I first started to be a lead because I look up to these great actors: Harrison Ford, or Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Ben Affleck, and I look nothing like those guys. And I'm like, oh man, I can never be a lead like those guys. And those guys are amazing actors. And I still struggle with that. I'm much more confident, but I still sometimes struggle with confidence. But
Mm,
I now I'm not as scared as I was before. So it was more of like, I don't think people, and also I guess just I'm like, are people gonna find me interesting? Are they gonna want me for lead? Are they gonna take a chance on me? So I was very, scared and skeptical in the beginning, up until Demise. And then with the feedback that I've gotten and people have really, said, you did a great job, you really carried it, and you did this, that, and I got these compliments. And sometimes compliments can really boost, and you're like, wow, thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. And now I see things differently when you're given that, that kind of confidence of like, hey, you can do this, you really can. And I've had people tell me like, hey, if you play your cards right and you work hard, you can be the next leading man in Hollywood, and you can be the next big thing. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So
mm. Yeah, no, I think that is true, right? So, the day job for me is communications, right? And, I'd been working it for a long time, and I was going for managerial roles. There's not a lot of people that look like me in those roles, right? When it comes to senior management, diversity takes a nosedive, right? So, I was applying for roles, applying and just not getting them. And then one day, right, I applied for this one job, and I was a bit dubious because initially it was part-time, right? And I was a bit like, but I applied, and the lady who was recruiting, she was the CEO. Um, she gave me that opportunity, right? We're now great friends, but at that time, she was able to see the potential. And then what I noticed, right, she did that for so many people in the organization. She gave so many people their first step up into that senior role.
She believed in you.
Yeah. And there was something, because you do start to doubt yourself a little, right? You're trying to stay confident, you're trying to stay focused and all of this, you're trying to keep up to date with everything, but you're thinking, right, maybe I'm not that, right? If no one is giving me this chance, maybe I'm not that. So when you get that opportunity, as you say, you've got to be ready. Because if I got that chance and then just drop the ball every second, then you know what I mean? What am I doing? But it was like keeping ready. But after, you're in the meetings, you're pitching ideas, and they're like, yeah, run with it, do it, and your confidence just grows, and you're like, yes, I can do this. You know what I mean? And obviously, as you said, there's still those moments where you kind of like, yeah, am I really this, right? But you just stay focused, you stay on that journey, and you just keep pushing.
You get older, you get wiser, and you become more confident. And I think I'm really like I'm in my mid 40s, and I'm really enjoying this time, because this is in the best shape I've been in my life, the best I've had my head on my shoulders, and I'm really enjoying this. And I think, and there's some that become more confident and stuff like that when they're younger, and that's fine. Everybody's got a different journey. And the other thing, the other thing I want to say is, you cannot compare yourself to anybody else. You
No.
compare yourself to anybody else's life or career, you're shooting yourself in the foot, and you shouldn't, because everybody has a different journey, a different way they were brought up, the different way they think and everything. You should never ever compare yourself to anybody for anything at all. It doesn't matter, even if it's a sibling, that they were more successful than you at this age. Everybody's got a different journey. It doesn't matter. Not compare yourself. But as you get older, you get wiser, you get better, and like you said, you just got to stay focused, on track, work hard, be grateful, have fun, and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. And man, you had to be in the best shape of your life, because the way the film opens, right? Doing your landscaping, showing off the abs and shit.
You gotta, working out, being in the gym it's not a routine for me. It's part of my lifestyle. It's what I do. I'm gonna do it for the rest of my life. So between being physical and exercising, and acting are my two favorite things in the world. It's what brings me to life, and it's what I love.
Now, are you a workout person to music, or do you just like to be in your own thoughts?
Music. Music can really bring me up. And I listen to all kinds of music. It all depends on my mood. Sometimes alternative rock, or just pop, or hip hop. Even some reggaeton or salsa music, depending on my mood. I'll put that on, jam it, and just work out.
Yeah, gotta have music on, man. Gotta have, well, it's music or a podcast. That's the vibe.
Podcast, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. What about getting into a role? Like, do you use any tools like music, or like maybe you'll read a script and you'll be like, oh, I think this character is a bit like blah, blah, blah. So you might watch a film, you know what I mean? Or like, is there anything that you use to help you get to a place?
Yeah, so when I do research on a character, I really try to get into their psyche, into what they are, who they are, with their description and everything. And sometimes music does help. I've had to do it already a couple of times, where like I get into the psyche with the kind of music and stuff like that. But one of my things that I want to do is, I really want to play a dark character. On Dexter, and it didn't show too much of his world of him being dark, but he's a pretty sinister guy. But I really want to delve more into the psyche, into like maybe the craziness, into like some kind of psycho kind of character. And I'm really dying to get a role like that. But it all depends. I approach everything differently. I don't think there's one way to do something. Not everything's black and white. There's a lot of gray area, and there's no wrong way of doing it, and there's no right way of doing it. Like I think Daniel Day-Lewis said, with method acting, it's like, I don't care if my co-star or my actor is doing cartwheels to get to the place that he needs to get to, as long as he gets there. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. You just get there the way you know how to get there, and the way you can. And I love that. There's no one way. Now, there's other actors who just use one certain way and method, and that's okay too. There's no wrong way. There's no right way. You just got to get to the any which way you can.
Yeah, no, that is very true. That's very true. But getting like actually, I just had a thought because they're remaking American Psycho, so you could
Well,
maybe apply to be it was something Bateman, wasn't it? I
yeah,
think
Patrick Bateman. Yeah,
that's it. That would be a
that's
twisted
interesting.
dark role.
He's a really good actor, and remaking that, and Christian Bale just, and it's funny because I saw that not too long ago. Christian Bale just did such an amazing job with that character, and to do a remake of such a character like that is pretty ballsy, I would say. So it's gonna be interesting, and I like Austin Butler. I think he's a great actor, and I think he's gonna do justice. I think he's gonna kill it, and he's gonna do a good job. But that's a dream role, to do something so crazy and so out there and so out of the ordinary. That is, he did a great job in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Role that he had, so I know he's gonna do a great job, and that's such a cool character to like take over and be like, all right, let's make something happen, let's do something.
It definitely is something. But I think in Demise though, like what you show is really interesting because you're playing opposite like Liz Fenning and Crystal Hernandez, who are both tremendous.
Yeah.
Like the range they show to get to those different places, and for Crystal to do what she does, right, is pretty phenomenal. Now, what was it like to play opposite them? Because what I mean, you have to then show like these different aspects of yourself. You have to take your character to these different places to be able to play off of what they're bringing. So what was that like, that challenge?
So to be honest, I was very scared and nervous because we're both such great actresses, but they were so good, they made it easy. When you really have it, when you're really, there's no competition when it comes to acting. Everybody is in their own level, and especially when it comes to being in scenes, you're partners, you're working with each other, you're tugging, back and forth, tug of war, and working with both of them, it was so amazing because they were just so good, they were so natural. They gave me and I gave them, and we were just kind of like in this limbo dance of just dancing and like just showing what I got, showing what they got, and it was just so easy and so flawless, and it was awesome. It was an amazing time because they were just so good. Both of them were just so damn good, and it's hard being that good and being that flawless in a script like this, in the sense of like it's a small little movie, and you just have to come to life and bring it. And they were just so flawless.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much just in the opening moments of the film, right? Like,
my iPad's about to die, so I'm gonna just charge it real quick here.
Okay, no worries.
Go ahead.
Yeah, because like you're talking about, right, your infidelity like to Alan, right? You're having that conversation, and then you're at the restaurant, and we have that crazy scene at the very beginning of the in the restaurant. So just in these openings, right, and we it opens up hot, let's say, right? So we see so many different aspects of Caleb in the first like 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah, the man is struggling with everything's perfect in the beginning, but he makes a mistake, and he struggles with what he's been doing, and I try to make Caleb very likable. I didn't want to make him a douchebag, and that's one thing that me and Yara were on the same page about, because you see a lot of these movies about infidelity and cheating and stuff like that and affairs, And the guy, he's either gaslighting or, there's arguments, there's fights, and he's trying to seem the woman seem crazy. But you can see that Caleb just like, he knows he messed up. He knows he did wrong. And he isn't trying to blame her or anybody. He's blaming himself. And I wanted him to make him grounded. I wanted to still make him kind of like likable. And I was like, I hope that's what it comes across. And a lot of people did receive it that way. And I'm really glad that it did, because I just didn't want to make it like another just douchebag guy who's just like cheating on his girl, and then he's just like making it seem like his wife is the crazy one or his lover's a crazy one. And that was part of the challenging part of the script, but also the way Yara wrote it, it made it easy. It was just flawless. It was just aligned the way she wrote it and directed it.
No, there's definitely a lot of nuance in this, which I think adds to the enjoyment of it, when you're viewing, which is, always a great thing.
Yeah.
So when you were looking at the script, what was there anything that you saw that maybe you hadn't done before and kind of seemed like, oh, that might be my biggest challenge here?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Being the lead, I have never been the lead in any project before, not in a feature film, and that right there in itself was a challenge, because it was like, are people going to receive it well? Are they going to like me? Are they going to enjoy watching me on camera? I hate watching myself on camera. I know there's some actors who love it and some don't. It all depends, but I know I have to, because I learn from myself. I learn from my takes, and you just have to study yourself. And I think it's important you have to do as an actor, is study yourself. But I hate watching myself. So I'm like, fuck, if I hate watching myself, are other people gonna hate watching me too? So the challenging part was just like, am I good enough? Am I leading man material? And the fact that had enough trust in me to be the leading male, and it was awesome. It was amazing, and I felt a lot of pressure in the beginning, but once I started rolling with Yara, a lot of that pressure went away, because she made me feel confident. She made me feel good, and I knew at that moment that it was in good hands with what she was doing, and this is her baby, and I know that she wanted to make it very good and successful. So the bottom line, the most challenging thing was just to make this character relatable, down to earth, and anybody can make a mistake like this. It's not right, but anybody can make a mistake like this and just make him like, oh, well, I feel for him, like he messed up, but he deserve everything that happened to him.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing, because at the very start, right, you kind of look at this very black and white, right? You just think, okay, these are the assholes, these are the good guys, right? This is how it should go. But as it unravels, as we move on, and as I said, like halfway through, like we're at a certain place, and then 3/4 away we're somewhere else, and then we're somewhere. So we have all of these different evolutions, and I think we definitely see Caleb in a different way as that film, progresses. And I think there is a great thing about that, because it's not making it just black and white, right? It's showing those gray areas, because that's what life is,
That's
right?
what
No one is completely right all the time or completely wrong all the time. You know what I mean? And everyone makes a mistake. Everyone fumbles now and again, right? So it's, how do you, get up from that? How do you learn, right? How do you move forward? So we
How do you move forward?
definitely.
Yeah. And one of the most important things is being honest with yourself. Like, if you mess up, you make a mistake, be honest with yourself. You can't be lying to yourself. You can lie to everybody else in the world, but you can't lie to yourself. And if you do, then there's no room for improvement. There's no room for, okay, I gotta better this. I gotta make this better. And you gotta really work on yourself, and just not lie to yourself. Because if you're lying to yourself, you're only hurting yourself.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Had you read for a lot of other leads before this, or like, what was the thing that made you think now was the time?
I don't get a lot of leading auditions. I have, and I really hadn't booked them. I guess just like, again, just confidence, there's an art to acting. There's talent, there's art, and it's very technical. And for me, I guess, again, being a late bloomer and everything happening later on in life for me, I'm glad that it's happening later on, because I'm getting older, wiser, and more confident. I don't think I
Yeah.
would have been able to handle Demise 10 years ago, you know at any point. And as you get older, you become more confident, like I said. But you know, now I feel more confident to be in a leading role, that I can be a lead. And and some of the feedback that I've gotten, it helps. It really does. Because if everybody tells you, no, you're not good enough, you still have to believe in yourself, no matter what
Mm.
anybody. Don't mistake that. But you got to take the good with the bad. And if people see you like, hey, you can be a lead, you're doing great, and you're very magnetic on film and on camera, whatever, take that in and soak it in. But as I get older, I become more confident. And this is an industry you takes years to really get good at. Some actors are just amazing on day one of them ever being on set. I'm not like that. I've had to work hard to be good, and I still have a lot more to go. But I have to work really, really hard to be natural and convincing, and really, hone in on my craft. Like a Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, or Daniel Day-Lewis. Those guys are, they work hard. Don't get me wrong, but it took them years to be that
Yes.
good. And it's taken me like that too.
Well, I think you can look at certain people's careers and see the evolution there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio, early on, I thought he was good in What's Eating Gilbert Grape and the Basketball Diaries. I thought he was there. You could see the potential there. And then Romeo and Juliet, you could see that. I then kind of just got a little like, for me, it felt like he kind of plateaued a bit. But then I remember watching The Departed,
Pardon, one of my
and
favorite.
I was just blown away. I was just like, what the fuck happened to Leo? I'm just like, this dude is just owning the screen. And ever since then, it was just, I don't know, man. It's just like he developed this new confidence and he just inhabited these roles, you know? And there's so many people that you can kind of see that with. Like early on, they're decent, they're all right. But then suddenly, right, they become matadors. You know what I mean? And it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, and I guess that just comes with time and confidence, and also the roles. Sometimes some of these roles that actors get are just, it's so perfectly tailored to them, and they
Mm,
just clear, a crystal clear vision of what they're gonna do and how they're gonna approach it, and how they're gonna play it. And like a Ben Affleck is one of my favorites. He started, like he even says, some of the movies he started, early on in his career were pretty bad and pretty terrible, but and then you can see the transition of when he's just like, all right, I'm gonna be amazing. I'm gonna do my work and work hard, and then like The Town and Argo,
How those two films, man, definitely like you, and with Ben, I think as well, becoming a director, I think that really impacted his, abilities, you know, just for the betterment of everything.
yeah. I mean, it made him understand more of the craft, and he's an amazing director.
Mm,
I mean, Gone Girl. I get confused between Gone Girl. There's another name for that one, but the one where he plays the husband where the wife disappears.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
there's Gone Girl, and then Girl something, but whatever. You know which one I'm talking about.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's become my favorite in the last few years, because I've seen him grow so much from what he did from Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, which I love. Pearl Harbor and Armageddon, great movies, but how he's just grown so much into being what he's done in the last few years of his movies. And I just want to see The Accountant too. And it would be a dream to work with him. Being a director and an actor, I think it's really opened him up to even being more great. And you can see the transition that he really pushed himself to be great, and this is what he loves doing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. for sure. It's yes, interesting. And I think it definitely shows, right, that this is a journey.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know what I
journey.
mean?
Yeah,
And
and
you
it's
just
a
have to
journey for
keep
life.
on. Mm,
Yeah, there's no end game to this. The end
no.
game is death. That's it. And everything in between, you just have to enjoy it. This is, you can say, because nobody's. I don't think any actor's ever gonna be like, oh, once I win the Oscar, I'm gonna stop. Or once I book this kind of role, I'm gonna stop. You just keep
Mm,
going. Now you can retire, whatever, of course, but there is no plateau to it. You just keep going, and you keep getting better, and keep developing, and keep honing in on your skill. There is no end game to this. The end game is 6 feet below death or whatever, and that's it. But you have to enjoy the in between, from the day you're born to the day you die. You have to enjoy life as much as possible, and specifically being an actor, you gotta make it a craft, make it a part of your life, and really enjoy it, because this is something that when you do acting, you love it, you enjoy it, and it's something you want to do for the rest of your life.
yes. I think sometimes as well, you can watch something and you can like get a sense that that must have been a fun set, right? It looks like they were enjoying themselves
Totally.
because, man, I saw Sinners last week.
Oh, I know, I want to watch it. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I think Ryan Coogler is a phenomenal director,
Yep.
but you know, there's always that thing of be like, is this going to still be good? Is this film going to be good? I hope it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And I think so many of the big Hollywood films that we were told this is going to be like huge. And I've just been a little disappointed in a lot of them. And so, I was going into Sinners and I had hope because I'm like, Brian, Michael, like
Yeah.
the rest of
Smart,
the
bro.
cast, I'm
Good
just
job.
like, yeah, they got to do it. And then when I watched it, you're just blown away. And Michael B. Jordan talking about leveling up, like, you know what I mean? He's been fantastic in so many roles, but this is his best outing today. He
I'm
is so good.
Yeah, and he's playing his twin, so it's amazing. And see, and these are the kind of projects, and this is when I talk about acting in Hollywood, I get so excited. Like these are
Mm,
things, and going back like to Demise, I had such a great time on set, even though it was heavy, but I'm playful at heart, and I can turn it on and off, switch into like something very dark, and then cut, and then make a joke. I can do that. But like on the set of Demise, I had such a great time myself, and these are the kind of things that I just want to keep doing. Like kudos to Michael B. Jordan. I can't wait to watch that. But it's fun, it's exciting, and it's just like something that I'm looking forward to, and yeah, I just can't wait for my next project.
mm. When like what was the schedule like for Demise, right? How long did it take to
We shot that in 17 days. I worked on it for 15. There was just 2 days I did it. It was 3 weeks because it was 5, 5, and 5, with the
mm,
weekend. So and the way they broke it up was perfect. But yeah, it was a great set. 17 days of filming, and we shot a whole feature in 17 days in 12, 10 to 12, 13-hour days, if I remember correctly. But it never felt that long, because when you're on set and you're loving it, you're having a good time, you're enjoying it.
yeah.
I've been on set on other things where I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I want to get going, But on this set, it was amazing. I had fun, and it was just like a 17-day shoot. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, that is, quick. That is quick. And again, like a first time director shooting in such a short space of time, so much pressure.
Yeah.
So much pressure. So being able to, you know what I mean, end up with something like this is phenomenal.
Yeah, it was, and she stepped up to the plate. She made it happen. It was amazing, and she really took control of everything. And Yara, again, I can't just say enough amazing things about her, and I was just like, I can't wait to work with her again. She was just
I mean, you've worked with, as I said, I mean, you've done so many different things in so many different formats. So, what is it about her directing style that resonated so much with you? Because you must have seen so many different styles of directing over the years.
Yeah, and, doing TV is different. When you do a show or in a feature, of course, there's different ways they approach it. On TV, when you're just a co-star, there's not a lot of time for the director to be, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this. So they don't spend a lot of time with you, which is completely understandable.
Mm.
When I did Parks and Recreation, the director was more concerned about his leads and the series leads and stuff like that, of course. And then, oh, good job to the co-star and stuff like that. And then other projects that I've done, the difference is I love working with an actor's director or a director's actor, because Yara's also an actress.
Yes.
And I worked with Robert Townsend, and I loved working with Robert Townsend, who's also an actor's director or director's actor. I get them confused. I'm a little dyslexic. Sorry. I loved working with him. It was so amazing because he helped me get to where I needed to go. He knew how to talk to me. And then, working with Yara was the same thing. She knows how to talk to her actors. She knows how to, get you to where you got to go. And I think it's a big plus, the fact that she wrote the script. She had a clear vision of what each scene was going to turn out and what needed to be done. And the play back and forth and, going from one scene to the next and the dialogue and all that stuff. And she just made gold. She made it happen. And it's not easy. It's not easy, I feel I never want to be a director as of right now or anything like that. I just love being an actor, but it's not easy being a director because it ultimately falls on you to direct, to make the scenes happen, to make the movie come together. It really does, because you can make or break a movie in the directing and in the editing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the amount of times you see a film, right, and you see the cast, and you're like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see this," and it's just flat.
Yeah, it's exactly. And the
directing, and
editing.
Yeah, because the cast have done phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I know they're good actors, right? So what happened? What happened with, and so the thing must be, they just didn't vibe with the director, obviously, right? And so that must be such a tricky thing, you know what I mean? So finding someone who and I think there is definitely something about actors who become directors. You know what I mean?
They get it, they understand.
Yeah, because Ben, right? Like, done it. Like, there's so many people who have made that transition and have produced some phenomenal pieces of work. And because I think they it's like understanding the things that you like, right? Like, before making that jump to management, I was just like, that's not a great way to talk to staff, right? That's not a great way to manage a project. I feel the best way to get work out of people is doing it like this so it was always a conscious thing of, hey, when I make that step, this is how I want to do it. This is how I want to, hold myself. This is how I want to communicate with my team. This is how I want to do things. And I guess as an actor making that's the similar thing. What worked for you. What you didn't really vibe with. And I think that's, that is definitely something I feel that probably gave her this incredible ability to be able to connect with you all.
Yeah, exactly. And again, she just did an amazing job, great job, and I'm just so happy. And for one of the first times that I'm like, okay, I'm happy with what I did, because usually I'm like, oh, I could have done better, I could have done this, I could have done that. But with this, I feel pretty confident that I did my job and I did what I was supposed to do.
I mean, it was a phenomenal job, man. Like, you all were tremendous. I think that is the big thing, right? Sometimes you'll watch something and you'll be like, man, like, the leads were really good, but the supporting cast, they weren't the best, you know what I mean? But when you can watch something and everyone shows up to the play, right? That is just magic, right?
That was, and everybody showed up, and I love that.
When you read the script, because it is a little spicy, the film, right? Like, what did you think about that aspect of it? Of like, you know, is that the first type of, you know, role that you've, is this the first kind of role like that you've done?
Yeah, well, you know, I've had a couple of sex scenes here and there from what I remember before in certain projects, but this is definitely the most I've ever had. And it's always uncomfortable no matter what anybody tells you, but I felt comfortable, you know, because, you know, talking to the actresses
Mm,
and to Yara and the set and everything, I felt comfortable and I felt good, but it's always such an uncomfortable thing, you
yeah.
know, the people around and stuff like that. But most importantly is, you know, you're a professional, you know, you're on set and you want to make it believable, because if you're not believing it and you're not there, you're not present, it's gonna look fake, you know.
Mm,
Acting is not so much about pretending, it's about, you know, being in truthful moments. You can pretend certain things, of course, and then, you know, like I always said, there's no black and white, there's a lot of gray area, you know, but you know, you want to remain truthful as much as possible, because if you're not believing it, the audience is definitely going to believe it. You know, we can spot a lie from a mile away or something being fake, but you know, for the most part, it was comfortable, it was great. But those kind of acts on film are always uncomfortable, at least for me. But I, again, as uncomfortable as it was very comfortable, if that makes any kind of sense.
yeah. Yes. No, definitely, definitely. Like, did you like have thoughts of where you would like this character to go after this?
Yeah, well, from, you know, Yara's writing part two,
Yeah,
and
which I
she got,
cannot wait
yeah,
for.
they already got some, like, I think in the first 15 pages there's already like three twists and turns that you didn't see coming.
Oh,
So I don't want to project or be like, oh, I would love to see my character do this, because she's writing something, and I don't, you know, if it doesn't line up to what I think, I don't want to be like, ah, damn it. So I want to leave it free and open, because anything can happen, and
yeah.
that's what I love. That anything can happen, and I'm just super excited to, you know, when she finishes it, to, you know, read it, and, you know, and get on it. You know, hopefully we can make it happen this year. You know, it all depends on the budget and stuff, but I know eventually it's going to happen. But I'm just excited that she's writing and she's doing it. We've already kind of spoken about it, and I'm really stoked about it, because it's already the first 15 pages from what she told me. I'm like, oh, wow, oh my god, that's crazy! I can't believe that's happening like that. So yeah.
I mean, when you first got the role, did you know there was a potential sequel coming?
Uh,
Or
yeah, when I read the script, I'm like, you know, it leaves it open. You know, you never know
mm,
what can happen. So, you know, it can always very well be possible for a sequel, because, you know, my character doesn't die, you know, and so on and so on. So there always could be, you know, it was left open for something else to happen, and things like this happen, and there's always a continuation of it. You know.
mm, mm. Yeah, no, there's oh man, like once you get to the end, you're just like, oh my days, where can
Yeah.
like there's so many possibilities. It was
Yeah.
just so just like and I just really wanted to, you know, like to email Yara and be like, yo, is it ready? Like, and
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
like,
Exactly. Keep
we're in
pushing her.
production right now. I'll be
Get it
like,
done.
yes.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Kevin. This has been great, man. I really appreciate this.
Hey, no worries, man. As I say, it was just like so great to see the film and especially, you know, have the opportunity to speak to Yara because it
Yeah.
was so insightful, right? As you say, for someone making their feature directorial debut, like the insights that she had, I mean, it's just like there's so many people that do not have those. So
Yeah.
it was just like after that conversation, watching the film, having the opportunity to talk to yourself, like what you know, what I mean, what more can you ask for, right?
Mhm. Exactly. So I'm just stoked. I'm excited, and, you know, let's bring it on. Let's make it happen.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, do you have any projects on the horizon? I think you're producing a couple of things.
Yeah, I just did a horror film. You know, Dexter just came out, that I had a recurring role on that, the original Sin, which was an amazing show as well. And then just a horror film that I just did. And then that's pretty much it. And again, it's just now on to the next audition, the next project. God willing, you know, something soon comes up. And just keep working and grinding away, you know. And I'm used to this industry. I'm used to already, like, you know, I can book something and then not hear for a long time for the next project, up until I can become a working actor, or things just start rolling for me and start happening. So as of now, it's been slow, and I'm sure you've heard the transition of Hollywood
Mm.
streaming, all this stuff. Right now, things are very, very slow. At least on my end, at my level, it's very, very slow. But I'm hopeful, and I'm still grateful, and I know great things are coming, and I have a really good feeling that something big, big, big is coming this year for me.
Oh, I mean, Carl, like with the performances you're putting up, right? It's just like, you know what I mean? Someone's gonna draft you, let's just say,
Yeah,
right? It's like a basketball player just constantly just from the 3-point line, from the penalty line, just nailing those shots. Someone's drafting that person. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
just like, hey, just keep on doing what you're doing, man.
Thank
And it's
you. Appreciate that.
inevitable for
From
sure.
your mouth to God's ears. Thank you.
All right, how can people keep track of everything you're doing, my man?
I'm not huge on social media, but I do post funny stuff here and there. So it's just Carlo Mendez, or at C Mendez 78 on Instagram, and Facebook is the only two really social medias that I have. And I'll post funny stuff or my acting stuff. It all depends, or some motivational stuff. But yeah, it's on social media, Carlo Mendez, Carlo regular space Mendez, or at C Mendez 78. And yeah, it's the way, if you want to, like, follow me, or say hi or whatever, yeah, just do it there.
Awesome. Well, all the links will be on the website, people. So go give Carlo a follow, because you know what I mean. If you've seen Demise, you will know that, hey, one of these big franchises, or he's gonna be in one, right? He's gonna be
Ah,
doing his thing in something phenomenal real soon, and also Demise too. So you want to be on the ground floor to see it happen.
yeah,
Right.
I'm excited. Let's do it. Let's bring it on.
Hey man, yeah, no, this has been great. The Mice is phenomenal,
Thank you.
right? I cannot wait for the sequel. I
Yes,
cannot wait for the
you'll be the
sequel,
first. You'll be the first to know.
man. Hey man, that's great, man. I really appreciate your time. Thank you
Of
so
course. Thank
much,
you,
man.
Kevin. I appreciate it, my man. We'll be in touch.
All right, man. You enjoy the rest of your day, okay? All right, thanks,
Get it.
man.
All right. Bye.
Peace.